Hi, I'm Julie McCluskie, Director of Communications and Community Engagement for Summit School District, and we're back with the second half of our discussion about Building Vision 2020. And Desi, I'd like to talk a little bit about bringing you on board and what your role is with the district in what feels like a whole bunch of work here for the next few months. So tell us what an owner's rep is and how you're working with the school district leadership around next steps.
Definitely, sure. And I'll try and give you the non-boring version here. So an owner's rep, well, let me back up. So NV5,
yes.
Who we are and what we do. So NV5 is a national firm. We do engineering. We also do program management, which is what I specialize in.
Okay.
And within program management, we have different unique kind of expertise areas, schools being one of them. And schools have been something I've been working on consistently for the last 5 years. So love doing it, do it a lot. So it's really good. It's really a good experience. But anyway, an owner's rep, a project manager, what we're tasked with doing is really kind of managing the entire program for the Summit School District in terms of helping manage the budget, helping manage schedules, getting team members on board, whether that be the architect or the contractor, a geotech, a surveyor, all the people that really make the project work, getting all those folks together. But I think the most important part of what we've been tasked with doing by the district is really making sure the community becomes one of those team members for the project.
Thank you.
And so it's been great. And so one of the things that we've helped to do to get some of that input and get the community involved is really kind of assemble what's called a design advisory group. So
okay, and we refer to those as DAGs.
As DAGs,
We're so good in education to come up with acronyms. So a design advisory group, that's what you've helped us assemble. And I want to mention, Desi, that list of things that you're helping us with and providing. Woody does a great job in facilities, but we certainly don't have the capacity to do all of this work ourselves. And we're educators, right? We know how to teach kids, but we don't necessarily know how to hire contractors. You do, but
it takes me a long time. He's really faster than I am.
Everybody's got a full-time job. Yep, it's our job, and that's what we do, and we do it well. So,
good. So design advisory groups, that's where we're at right now.
That's where we're at right now. And actually, let me even back up from that just a second. So really, when we talk about community and working within that community, the design advisory group is really kind of one part of a few other parts and pieces that we've helped assemble and are continuously running these projects right now. So within that community, like I said, we've got the DAG, which is really made up of community members from parents. It could be staff, teachers that work at each facility or the different schools. It's members of our facilities committee, which is actually another component that's running within that big community bubble. And that facilities committee is really comprised of people like Woody. We've got the superintendent, Carrie, on there, as well as the financial director, Kara, Margaret from the Board of Education, the president, she's on that. And you are also on that board as well, or that committee as well. So they kind of function as well. And they're kind of the bigger decision makers, but they get informed by that community and by the DAG and by a third component, which we're calling user groups, which is an even smaller breakdown of people that are actually living and working in these facilities. They do the day-to-day. The designers and the architects really want to make sure that as they have this plan for how these buildings need to work to meet that capacity issue or just to meet the function of how these teachers need to use these spaces, that they're meeting with those folks and really understanding what their individual needs are and how they can make the building help facilitate that and help the building kind of be that learning tool for those kids so that they're not shorted and they don't have the resources to teach kids the way they need to.
Awesome.
So those are the different parts and pieces, and really that's been going on for the last couple of months. We've got DAGs assembled right now for the middle school project, the high school project, and 3 of the elementary school projects, Upper Blue, Frisco, and Silverthorne.
And we should mention that every school will have a design advisory group. We are just pacing ourselves with all of those.
It's a lot to do, and we've bitten off a lot and we're definitely jumping in and running. So yep, you're exactly right. That those next 3 schools will be the next ones on the list. We'll assemble the DAGs and get those off and running as well.
Exciting. I really appreciate the emphasis you've put on community, because we do as well. And we know that we only get the opportunity to spend these dollars once. We want to do it the right way. We want to make sure viewpoints are included. Tell me how we're including students in this process. I know there's a couple of different ways that they're engaged.
Yeah, actually, there are a couple students that have been a part of some DAGs or some DAGs, and they've given some good feedback and good input. It's amazing how well they kind of understand what we're trying to do and understand that their input's valued. So that's been good. User groups is another way that our architects are planning on getting more students involved. So that's just another opportunity to get a few champions for the school. And I think we're really relying on principals, and they really understand their kids. Man, these are the kids that we really feel like get it and have the viewpoints that need to be heard. So assembling those folks at kind of that smaller level, that user group level, and running that process through with them as well.
I am so glad. You know, they're the ones that get to live in this space.
Exactly. Yep.
Along with our teachers, and important that they feel it's addressing all the needs. Now, we do have two advisory groups. One advisory group is speaking specifically to safety and security, and then the other advisory group is speaking specifically to something we're calling Vision 2020 and the 21st century learning environment in our media centers. So maybe you can talk a little bit about those two groups, Desi, and what their role is.
Yeah, so we've kind of termed them as the specialty DAGs. So we've got those bigger DAGs at the high school, the middle school, and those 3 elementary schools. But we've got these specialty DAGs that really are focused on the security, like you said, and building Vision 2020. So that security DAG, we invited folks from the police department, from the fire department, again, parents, teachers, folks that work in the front office, because really this DAG was meant to inform, how do we make that main entrance, that first leg into the building, how do we secure that a little bit better than maybe it's being done right now? And so that group of folks really had some good input and some good thoughts on ways to make that a little bit better. So that's one of the specialty DAGs. They're also looking at things like security cameras and access control and all those types of odds and ends that just keep kiddos and students and teachers safe. So. And
I was glad to be a part of that meeting. I was really impressed with the opinions that surfaced from law enforcement and our fire department, fire chiefs. Everybody had something to offer to help us do that job better, just keeping everyone safe.
Yeah, it's amazing. The unique perspective that you get from even somebody from the police department to the fire department. You kind of want to lump them in one bucket, but man, they've got some different things they'd like to see done.
That's for sure.
It's good.
That's right.
And then that second specialty DAG that you had mentioned, that Vision 2020, really what that DAG was and what that DAG's purpose is folks assembled to really kind of set some overarching goals and principles that all of the other DAGs are going to try and work within. And those principles are really kind of driven by that Vision 2020 document that was created a couple of years ago about creating really just safe 21st century learning spaces for kids. Yeah. And so they've taken that and they've ran with it to set that blanket now that all of these other DAGs are going to work within. And there'll be some creativity that these smaller DAGs will be able to have on their own in their own kind of unique little DAGs. But ultimately those designs that they come up with and specifically this is really for a lot of the media center work that we're doing across the facility or across the district, they'll be able to be creative in their own little bubble to an extent that'll obviously be checked by that overarching DAG. So that's really cool that, we're not necessarily setting these strict guidelines that are going to really limit these folks, but they really have the ability to be creative and come up with their own thoughts and ideas.
And each of particularly when we talk about elementary schools, each of our elementary schools has its own personality, its own culture.
Definitely.
And I think what's important to us around equity is making sure that every student does have the very best learning environment. But how that might look, or the shape, or the colors. The colors are such a big deal. All those things that come into play. I know, colors. So that's exciting, and it's great that there is that much voice in this process. We really appreciate that.
It's good. It was one of the big things that the district tasked us with from day one when they hired us was, how are you guys going to keep the community involved in this process, and that community being everybody all the way down to the students? And so that's been our number one goal, and we're going to keep running with that baton as far as we can.
Good. Yeah. So I know we're not at the design, we don't have completed blueprints, designs ready to go yet. What is our timeline, and when can our community members expect to see a few construction projects break ground here in the next year or two?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So right now we're in what's called the schematic design phase. It's really the second phase in a 4-step design process.
Okay.
That first step is the conceptual design, which was really the master plan. That second phase, schematics, which is what we're in now for the middle school, the high school, and those first 3 elementary schools, is really going to carry us through until the end of this month. And it's really kind of taking that conceptual plan, testing it, validating it. Is this really what's going to work for everybody? So they're having some user groups, again, meeting with the DAGs, getting all of that input, and they'll present something to the district at the end of this month. And the district will get to look at that, kind of test it themselves as well, and figure out if that's ready for the next step, which is called design development, which is then a little bit more in terms of getting things like the HVAC system and electrical, all of those kinds of odds and ends into the construction drawings, which then kind of gets you set up for that last phase, which is called construction documents, which by the end of July, we'll be at the end of that design phase for these first 5 schools. So it's a quick process, a lot to get done and a lot to do over the next couple of months. But that's about where we're at. And one of the big checkpoints that we have right now is around mid-March. We are planning on having a community meeting where we would take those designs and present them to the community. Basically put them on display and let folks come in and I like to say throw darts at it, but give us your input.
Yeah, they're
sure.
Throw roses at it. They're
Give us your honest
so
input.
Much.
What are the things that you feel like work really well? What are some things that maybe you want to see in design development, maybe done a little bit differently?
Sure.
Because that's really what it's there for. So that'll be a good checkpoint for us. But all that really getting us set up for hitting construction for the first 3 elementary schools as soon as school's out this spring. So that'll be in June.
Wow. Nice.
Yep. We'll be focusing on the media center renovation and the security vestibule component of those schools. And then really at the end of July, early August, you'll start to see some of the big excavators, some of the big construction equipment, which is the fun part of it. It really is. I mean, that's the part I think everybody enjoys the most. But that's where you start seeing them kind of poking around in the middle school and the high school, getting those projects off and running. And then those will be turned over to the district in 2018.
Wow.
Yep.
So we will have construction while we are operating school.
We will.
Yes, that'll be another hurdle to cross, right?
It's actually another question that the district, when they brought us on, was how would we manage that process and make sure that the kiddos stay safe when there are big machines and construction going on, right outside their door. And so it's something that we've challenged the CMGCs, which is a construction manager general contractor that the district has now hired. Those being FCI and Evans Chafee, we challenged them with the same question. How are you guys going to manage that process and set that up so that there are no mistakes, no issues, and the kids are at the forefront of everybody's mind in terms of keeping them safe?
And maybe even learning something along the way, right?
It's an awesome opportunity for kids to learn about construction and design. It's the perfect time for that.
That's great. Yep. Well, thank you, Desi, for your work. Woody, anything else to add in where we're at in this process, or your hopes as we move forward?
Well, this is exciting. It's exciting for all of us. It's exciting for the community, and it's exciting for teachers and students and principals and myself, my maintenance staff. So we're all very excited. We're happy to have such a great team assembled, and I can't wait to see construction starting as well. So.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you both for your time today. I think we're going to have to do this again, right? We're going to have to come back and talk a few more times with the community and let them know our updates and how things are progressing. For more information right now about Building Vision 2020, please visit our website, summitk12.org, and then click on District Information. You'll find a specific page, Facilities, Building Vision 2020, with information about all of the design advisory group meetings, what's been happening. You'll see some of the presentations that have been made to our community, and also a little bit more about the timeline for this process. Or feel free to call us anytime at our Central Administration Office. Thanks, guys. We're Building Vision 2020. Feeling strong.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.